Ladies and gentlemen, one of the hardest things to do in life is to stay quiet after you've been disrespected. Our natural reaction is to defend ourselves, to fight back, to let the other person know they've crossed a line. But you need to understand, strength isn't always about the loudest voice in the room. Strength is about control. When someone disrespects you, they're trying to drag you down to their level. They want a reaction. They want you to respond with anger, frustration, or even rage, because when you do, they control you. But when you stay quiet, when you refuse to give them what they want, you stay in control. You maintain your power. The power of restraint is one of the most underrated strengths a person can possess. It is often mistaken for weakness, when in reality it requires immense inner strength to remain composed in situations where the natural instinct is to retaliate. In a world where emotions tend to take over, being able to control one's reactions is a sign of deep personal growth and maturity. The power of restraint lies in the ability to step back, reflect, and respond with intention rather than impulsively reacting to provocation. In moments of disrespect, the temptation to lash out or defend oneself is overwhelming. When someone speaks to us in a demeaning tone or undermines our efforts, our ego screams for validation. We want to show them that we're not to be messed with, that we deserve respect. This is a deeply human response after all. No one likes to feel belittled. But in reacting immediately, in letting our emotions dictate our actions, we often lose sight of the bigger picture. In those moments, we give control of our behavior to the very person who disrespected us. They become the puppet master, pulling the strings of our reactions. True strength comes from the ability to restrain that initial impulse. It's about recognizing that not every attack deserves a response. When you practice restraint, you show that you're not easily shaken, that you are grounded in who you are and do not need external validation. This doesn't mean you're ignoring the disrespect. It means you're choosing a different path, a path of wisdom and foresight. You understand that reacting in the heat of the moment often leads to regret and further conflict. By holding back, you allow yourself the time to assess the situation and decide the best course of action if any action is necessary at all. Restraint also gives you an advantage in social dynamics. When someone disrespects you, they expect a certain reaction. They're looking to provoke an emotional response. By staying calm and composed, you disrupt their expectations. Instead of feeding into their negativity, you maintain control over the situation. This kind of restraint disarms your opponent, leaving them uncertain and sometimes even frustrated because they can't manipulate your emotions. You maintain the upper hand, not through aggression or force, but through sheer control over your own emotions. It takes practice to cultivate the ability to pause in the face of provocation. For most people, the natural response is immediate and emotional. However, restraint requires you to pause, take a breath, and think before you act. This level of self-discipline doesn't come overnight. It's developed over time through intentional effort and self-awareness. It requires you to be conscious of your emotions and to understand when those emotions are beginning to rise. It's about learning to recognize the physical and mental signs of anger, frustration, or hurt, and using that awareness to guide your actions in a more constructive direction. Practicing restraint has long-term benefits for your emotional and mental well-being. Constantly reacting to disrespect or negativity drains your energy. It puts you in a perpetual state of defense, where your emotional equilibrium is dependent on the actions of others. However, when you practice restraint, you take back control of your emotional state. You become less susceptible to the actions and words of others. Instead of allowing external factors to dictate how you feel, you build emotional resilience. Over time, you'll find that things that once angered or upset you no longer have the same effect. You become more composed, more centered, and less reactive. Restraint is a form of emotional intelligence. It shows that you're aware of the emotions at play, not just your own, but also those of the person disrespecting you. When someone is acting out of anger, frustration, or insecurity, they may lash out at others as a way to release their own tension. By staying calm, you're not only protecting your own peace of mind, but you're also avoiding escalating the situation. Emotional intelligence allows you to see beyond the surface of the interaction and understand the deeper issues that may be driving the disrespect. This understanding can lead to more compassionate responses, or at the very least, the decision not to add fuel to the fire. Restraint also contributes to your personal reputation. People who react impulsively, who are quick to anger or retaliation, often develop a reputation as being hot-headed or difficult to deal with. In contrast, those who demonstrate self-control and poise are seen as leaders, as people who can be relied upon in tense situations. They are the individuals others look to for guidance because they remain calm under pressure. The ability to restrain oneself in the face of disrespect earns respect in return, not just from the person who disrespected you, but from everyone around you who witnesses your composure. Control over reaction is a critical aspect of emotional intelligence, and it plays a significant role in how we handle disrespect. When we encounter situations where we are belittled or insulted, the urge to react immediately is strong. It's a natural response. Our minds and bodies are wired to defend ourselves, to stand up for our dignity. However, the way we respond in such moments can have long-lasting consequences, both for our own peace of mind and for our relationships with others. Learning to control our reactions means taking charge of our emotions, assessing the situation from a place of calm, and responding in a way that reflects our values, not just our immediate feelings. The challenge with controlling your reaction is that it requires you to pause. Most reactions to disrespect are driven by emotions like anger, frustration, or hurt, which demand immediate expression. But by reacting quickly and without thought, you risk escalating the situation, saying things you don't mean, or causing more harm than necessary. A quick, emotional response often lacks perspective. It's based on the heat of the moment, not on the full picture of what's happening or what could happen as a result of your words or actions. When you control your reaction, you're not suppressing your emotions, but rather managing them. Emotional control is about acknowledging how you feel without letting those feelings dictate your behavior. It's about being able to step back mentally, even for just a few seconds, and think, what is the best way to respond here? Is this reaction going to serve me in the long term? In doing so, you ensure that your actions align with who you are, rather than being driven by fleeting emotions. A key element of controlling your reaction is understanding the difference between responding and reacting. A reaction is often immediate, driven by impulse, and can be fueled by raw emotion. It is unfiltered and often defensive. In contrast, a response is measured, thought out, and considers the consequences. A response doesn't mean you ignore the disrespect or that you are passive in the face of mistreatment. It means that you choose how to engage, with a focus on preserving your integrity and well-being. By controlling your reaction, you transition from being reactive to being responsive, which is a far more powerful position to be in. When someone disrespects you, they are often seeking a reaction. Their words or actions are designed to provoke, to trigger you into a defensive or angry outburst. By controlling your reaction, you deny them that satisfaction. This shift in dynamic is crucial because it allows you to remain in control of the situation. When you react out of emotion, you hand over control to the other person. They dictate the direction of the interaction. But when you take a moment to breathe, to assess, and to respond with calm, you shift the power balance back in your favor. You're no longer being led by the disrespectful behavior of another, you're leading the conversation by your own terms. One of the biggest benefits of controlling your reaction is that it prevents escalation. Disrespect can quickly turn into a heated argument or even a full-blown conflict if both parties react emotionally. By controlling your reaction, you create space for de-escalation. You're signaling that you're not interested in a confrontation and that you won't be dragged into an unnecessary conflict. This approach not only protects your peace of mind but also prevents damage to relationships or reputations. Controlling your reaction also sends a message of maturity and strength. It shows that you are capable of handling difficult situations without being ruled by your emotions. This doesn't mean you're indifferent or uncaring. It means that you prioritize thoughtful responses over impulsive reactions. In professional and personal settings, this kind of self-control can earn you respect from others. People notice when someone is able to remain calm under pressure, and they often look up to those who can manage their emotions effectively. In contrast, individuals who frequently react impulsively to disrespect may be viewed as volatile or difficult to work with. Controlling your reaction allows you to maintain your focus on what really matters. Disrespect, while hurtful, is often a distraction from larger goals and purposes. When you give in to emotional reactions, you lose sight of the bigger picture. You spend energy on something that ultimately doesn't serve your long-term interests. By controlling your reaction, you can stay focused on your priorities. You don't let a single moment of disrespect derail your progress or pull you off course. This is especially important in environments like the workplace, where maintaining professionalism and focus is key to success. Reacting emotionally to every slight or insult can be exhausting. It drains you mentally and emotionally, leaving you feeling depleted and often regretful. However, by controlling your reaction, you conserve that energy. You choose where to direct your focus, and you don't let every act of disrespect pull you into a negative emotional space. Over time, this approach builds emotional resilience, making it easier for you to navigate difficult situations without becoming overwhelmed by them. It's important to recognize that controlling your reaction doesn't mean you never address the disrespect. It means that you choose when and how to address it in a way that aligns with your values and desired outcomes. Sometimes the best response is silence. Other times, it may be a calm conversation where you assert your boundaries. The key is that you're not letting the other person's disrespectful behavior dictate your response. You're making a conscious choice about how to proceed based on what's best for you, rather than reacting purely out of emotion. Respect for yourself is foundational to how you navigate the world, and it plays a critical role in how you respond to disrespect. When someone disrespects you, it can feel like an attack on your worth or dignity. The natural inclination is to defend yourself or retaliate, but true self-respect means understanding that your value is not diminished by another person's behavior. It means recognizing that how you respond to disrespect speaks more about your character than the disrespect itself. Self-respect is not about letting people walk over you, but rather about refusing to be dragged into negativity or destructive behavior that undermines your sense of self-worth. When you respect yourself, you understand that your worth is inherent. It isn't something that can be taken away or undermined by someone else's actions or words. Disrespect from others can sting, but it doesn't define who you are. Your identity, your value, and your dignity come from within, not from external validation. In fact, disrespect often reveals more about the person delivering it than the one receiving it. People who disrespect others are often projecting their own insecurities, frustrations, or pain. When you internalize this truth, it becomes easier to stay grounded in your own self-worth, even in the face of disrespect. Self-respect is also about knowing when to walk away from negative interactions. When you stay quiet after being disrespected, it's not an act of submission, it's an act of self-preservation. You are choosing not to engage in a battle that will only drain your energy and pull you away from your goals. In moments of disrespect, your silence can be your strongest defense. It sends a powerful message that you value yourself too much to waste time on someone who doesn't see your worth. It says, I know who I am, and I won't lower myself to your level. Respecting yourself means recognizing your own boundaries and standing firm in them. Disrespect is often a violation of personal boundaries, and while it's important to assert those boundaries, doing so doesn't always require a verbal response. Sometimes the most effective way to assert your boundaries is by walking away, by refusing to participate in a toxic exchange. This doesn't mean that you accept mistreatment, it means that you refuse to let someone else's behavior dictate your emotional state. You refuse to let their negativity become your own. A big part of self-respect is the ability to manage your emotions in difficult situations. When someone disrespects you, it's easy to feel angry, hurt, or defensive. But when you respect yourself, you recognize that reacting emotionally often does more harm than good. It can lead to impulsive decisions, regretful words, and escalating conflict. Self-respect involves taking a step back, breathing, and considering the situation from a place of calm. You ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will reacting to this make me feel better, or will it just pull me into a negative space more often than not? The answer is that staying quiet, maintaining your composure, and moving on will serve you better in the long run. Self-respect is about choosing the battles that align with your values. There are times when standing up for yourself requires a direct response, but not every slight or insult deserves your attention. By respecting yourself, you become selective about where you invest your energy. You don't let minor disrespect derail your focus or pull you into unnecessary conflict. Instead, you save your energy for situations that truly matter, for the goals and values that align with your sense of purpose. Disrespect can be a distraction, and self-respect is the filter that helps you determine what is worth addressing and what is best ignored. Respecting yourself also means practicing forgiveness, not necessarily for the person who disrespected you, but for yourself. It's easy to dwell on moments of disrespect, to replay them in your mind and wish you had responded differently. But self-respect involves letting go of those thoughts and giving yourself grace. You understand that not every situation will be handled perfectly, and that's okay. What matters most is that you continue to carry yourself with dignity, even in the face of challenges. You forgive yourself for any perceived missteps and focus on maintaining your self-respect moving forward. Self-respect is also about resilience. People who respect themselves understand that disrespect is a part of life. It's something everyone encounters at some point. But instead of letting it break them down, they use it as a reminder of their own strength. Disrespect can be an opportunity to reaffirm your self-worth. It can serve as a test of your ability to remain grounded in your values, to stay calm in the storm, and to choose responses that reflect who you truly are. Over time, this resilience builds inner strength, making it easier to navigate future challenges with grace and composure. It's also important to recognize that self-respect is contagious. When you carry yourself with dignity and self-assurance, others take notice. People who respect themselves tend to command respect from those around them. They set a standard for how they expect to be treated, and they don't tolerate behavior that falls below that standard. By respecting yourself, you teach others how to treat you. You show them that you won't engage with disrespect or negativity, and over time, this often leads to healthier, more respectful relationships. Self-respect is about long-term well-being. Reacting to every slight or insult can be emotionally exhausting. It puts you in a constant state of defense, where your peace of mind is dependent on how others treat you. But when you respect yourself, you create emotional boundaries that protect your mental and emotional health. You recognize that your well-being is your responsibility, and you don't allow others to control it through their words or actions. You maintain your sense of peace, knowing that your self-worth is intact, regardless of how others choose to behave. Choosing your battles is one of the most valuable skills you can develop, especially when dealing with disrespect. Not every insult or slight requires a response, and knowing when to let things go is a sign of maturity and emotional intelligence. Engaging with every provocation is not only exhausting, but it also pulls you into unnecessary conflict that detracts from your bigger goals and values. Understanding when to address disrespect and when to move on is a key element of self-control and personal growth. The concept of choosing your battles revolves around the idea that not all conflicts are worth your time, energy, or emotional investment. In life, you will encounter people who will test your patience, push your buttons, and disrespect you intentionally or unintentionally. If you were to respond to every one of these moments, you would find yourself constantly in a state of defense, consumed by anger or frustration. This approach drains you, leaving little room for positive interactions or personal growth. More importantly, it can pull you away from your larger goals and distract you from what truly matters. When you choose your battles wisely, you're not avoiding conflict out of fear or passivity. Instead, you're deciding where your energy is best spent. It's about recognizing that not every disrespectful remark or action warrants your attention. Some people seek to provoke a reaction, to draw you into their negativity. By choosing to walk away or stay quiet, you demonstrate that you value your peace of mind more than engaging in a pointless argument. This decision reflects a deep understanding that some battles are simply not worth fighting. One of the main factors in choosing your battles is assessing the significance of the situation. Disrespect can come in many forms, from a casual, thoughtless comment to a direct and personal attack. In every situation, you have to ask yourself, does this really matter in the grand scheme of things? Will responding to this person improve the situation, or will it simply escalate the conflict? Often, the answer is that reacting would only prolong the negativity. By choosing to remain calm and composed, you preserve your energy for the challenges and interactions that truly deserve your attention. Choosing your battles also involves understanding the intentions behind the disrespect. Sometimes people act out of their own frustration, pain, or insecurity, and their disrespect is a reflection of their internal struggles rather than a targeted attack on you. In these cases, responding with anger or retaliation may only make things worse. When you pause to assess the situation, you give yourself the chance to understand whether the disrespect was intentional or merely a result of someone's bad day. This perspective can help you decide whether the situation is worth engaging in or if it's better to let it pass. By choosing your battles, you demonstrate emotional intelligence and restraint. It takes self-awareness to recognize when your emotions are being triggered, and it takes strength to pause and decide not to react immediately. Emotional intelligence allows you to see beyond the immediate insult and consider the long-term consequences of your actions. It helps you evaluate whether responding to disrespect will lead to a positive resolution or whether it will simply fuel more conflict. In many cases, you will find that staying quiet or walking away is the wiser choice, as it prevents the situation from escalating. There's also a practical side to choosing your battles. When you engage in every conflict, you spread yourself thin. You only have so much emotional and mental energy to expend each day, and if you waste it on trivial matters, you'll find yourself depleted when it comes to handling the things that truly require your attention. By picking your battles carefully, you ensure that you have the energy and focus to deal with the challenges that really matter. You can dedicate your efforts to your work, relationships, and personal growth instead of being distracted by every insult that comes your way. In any relationship, whether professional, familial, or personal, there will be moments of tension and disagreement. Disrespect may arise from misunderstandings or differences in perspective. If you respond to every perceived slight, you risk damaging the relationship over minor issues. Instead, when you choose your battles, you show that you value the relationship enough to let go of minor disagreements and focus on the bigger picture. This approach fosters healthier, more resilient relationships because you're not constantly nitpicking or engaging in unnecessary conflict. At the same time, choosing your battles doesn't mean ignoring disrespect altogether. There are times when it's important to stand up for yourself and assert your boundaries. The key is knowing when those times are. If the disrespect is repetitive, harmful to your well-being, or undermines your self-worth, then it's necessary to address it. In these situations, speaking up is a way of protecting yourself and setting clear boundaries for how you expect to be treated. However, even in these moments, it's important to approach the situation with calm and clarity rather than reacting in the heat of the moment. By doing so, you're more likely to resolve the conflict in a constructive way. Choosing your battles also means recognizing that some people will never change, no matter how much you try to engage with them or correct their behavior. There are individuals who thrive on conflict, who are perpetually disrespectful because it's part of their personality or coping mechanism. Engaging with these individuals often leads to a cycle of conflict that benefits no one. In these cases, walking away is the most powerful thing you can do. It signals that you refuse to waste your energy on someone who isn't interested in meaningful dialogue or change. Choosing your battles is about prioritizing your peace of mind and personal growth. It's about understanding that not every act of disrespect deserves your attention, and that you have the power to decide where to invest your energy. By doing so, you protect yourself from unnecessary conflict, preserve your emotional well-being, and focus on the things that truly matter in your life. It's a conscious choice to rise above negativity and maintain control over your reactions and your path. Through this, you demonstrate strength, maturity, and wisdom, ensuring that your actions reflect the best version of yourself.